So I'm going to tell a bit about my potential research project. Hope one day I'll conduct it. A little about me. I'm a journalist and also I hold a master degree in drama. So I'm a scriptwriter too. And that's important because my project is linked to cinema, Russian cinema. So the project, oh, okay. I'm going to switch. The project is about the myth of the other in Russian contemporary movies. I want to show how Russian cinema creates somehow an image of queer people who has been excluded from normal social activities for a long, long time as an image of the other. That's the point. I argue that in current Russian visual discourse, the image of queer people is often reduced to a body with no agency at all. And this forms a very dangerous xenophobic myth of the other, which should be excluded from normal social activities, avoided at all costs. And this myth is sadly firmly integrated in popular culture, including cinema. In my opinion, it's important to trace its reasons, prerequisites, to understand in the end how this image is literally being constructed by means of visual language. Speaking of theoretical grounds a little bit, definitely we'll use here a multidisciplinary approach. And here I listed a few names which are extremely important in terms of making research. I especially want to highlight Julia Kristeva and her famous essay, Objection, the phenomena which is about something alien, something disgusting. According to Kristeva, I mean, that should be avoided, and that's important piece of work. Also, I want to highlight various research on social exclusion itself, on the phenomena of exclusion, and the cornerstone of my project, Pierre Bourdieu's theory of cultural reproduction. A couple words about that. Bourdieu is a sociologist. He describes culture, like in general, cultural products as a result of multiple different interactions, complex interactions of different, he calls them agents, different people, different institutions who are involved in making culture. As for the analysis of visual language, it's also definitely a bunch of text on visual and film theory. I put it here. And speaking of research material, it's, of course, popular feature films and TV series, because by saying cinema, I mean not only cinema and movies themselves, but also TV products dated from the year 2000 to 2020. Yeah, no, it's a lot. Kind of a huge task to do. Speaking of structure, I think it could be consisted of 3 parts. Presumably, of course, the first one will be about all kinds of prerequisites, and the second one, and probably the second one is the hardest one to conduct, is a part built on sociological material, though I had 0 experience in sociology, but still, here I plan to use my own cinema background and some access to the industry, and I plan to conduct a series of sociological interviews with people who actually create cinema nowadays, TV series, hence, I mean, producers, directors, etc., script writers, reviewers, etc., etc. And this will provide us with deeper material to enrich research by the end of the day. And this is where Bourdieu's theory will be directly applied, right? Speaking of the third and the last part is, of course, analysis of visual material I was talking about recently. And speaking of relevance, what makes it relevant, of course, first of all, is that we are now living through a visual culture era, right? After the so-called visual turn, and also the issue of visual representation of vulnerable groups begins to be publicly discussed. And finally, my personal goal as a researcher and a cinematographer as well is to somehow stimulate the reflection of the image of queer people, so that more examples of adequate representation might be produced. I think this is it. Thank you.